and go ahead and taste this. And it's a similar kind of sensation like when you have a nice, crisp, oaky Chardonnay, right? It's kind of a similar characteristic. You pick that up?
I've never drank wine.
Well, there you go. All right, for us winos there. Yeah, and that's there you go.
But I can imagine it now.
Yeah, that oak. Yeah, so it's that crispness of flavor, of taste, is what we're talking about. Okay, that's what we're talking about when we say a coffee's winey. And there are some coffees that will have this crisp wininess to it. There are other coffees that will have that deep red wine to it. That's why we used to buy the San Mauricios, because it's the perfect red wine, and that one's gone now, so goodbye. Okay, do you feel comfortable with that? Do you feel comfortable with what we got so far? Let's go back to this San Francisco now. Very much that soft coffee, and you can almost see now why we call it soft or neutral. Because by going on that flat part of your tongue, it's almost as if it just kind of fades away pretty quickly. Whereas you'll notice with especially with that Karnataka, it seems to have more of a lingering characteristic to it than this one does. This one seems almost thinner from that kind of, it almost fools you that there's less coffee. However, you might also notice right now that there's a greater sensation of coffee in your palate. Right? And that's when we're talking about when we're in body. There's a difference between taste and body. And sometimes some coffees will fool you because a winey coffee tends to, because of the nature of it being on the sides of your tongue, your mind just kind of perceives it as a bigger coffee because it seems wider, right? So if you kind of think of it almost as, if you start mapping out your tongue, it's taking up more territory, especially compared to sweet, where sweet's at the very tip of your tongue. Let's go back to that one again. Whoops. Oh, God, this coffee's so good. This one is noticeably thinner than the last one. You pick that up? And it's much more on that tip, almost nothing on the side. It's not, almost nothing on that back, certainly nothing on the sides. It's almost all focused on the very forward of your palate. Okay, so that's our first hurdle we got to get. Now, there's two things about this. One, we've established that we can taste, right? Now we're like, oh, okay, now I'm getting it, and it's not like something I have to kind of pull out. You're experiencing this sensation now, right? And it's not. This is not. The great thing about taste is it's physical. Right? Much easier to go after this physical sensation it is to try to go after the aromatic, because like I said, aromatic is going to be episodic. So you'll notice when I start talking about aromas, I'll start using analogies and metaphors, but after I've used the first prop, as it were. Okay, let's move on to a couple other coffees and see if we can, let's try this AA Plus right here. Well, it's not a sweet coffee, is it? I wouldn't really say it's a soft coffee either, right? But it's very subtle. And about now, exactly. I was just thinking, just as I was talking, like, okay, now I can understand. Okay, so we got another dry coffee. But this coffee, another winey coffee, I'd say this is a bigger winey coffee than the first one. If you go back to this Karnataka, you'll kind of get what I'm saying about that. This one has that really crisp kind of characteristic to it. And this one's got a much more of a rounded, fuller wine, like a bigger wine. Kind of pick that up? Right? And so a lot of people who've done wine tastings are really easy to work with because it's real quick to make those analogies, So, but the problem with that is that the danger with using wine analogies is that while there are shared terminologies, it's not shared preferences, right? What makes a good wine does not make a good coffee. Okay. So you just have to kind of remember that because what will happen if you get somebody that's really into wine, next thing they're off in wine territory, oh, I taste blah, 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 blah. Like, whoa, dude, back off. We're good. Let's get back to the coffee. All right. Okay. No. Hit them. That's what I usually do. I just hit them. Okay. Let me move on. What I want to move on to is okay. So far I've used the Yirgacheffe. I led with the Yirgacheffe, and then I went to the Karnataka right after that because those are both really I don't want to say one-dimensional, but they're very narrow in that dimension, right? So they're the easiest of the two to pick up. Always do one of those two first before you go like the Chiapas here, right? Because that by nature is going to be much harder to pick up. But once they've kind of keyed into there, you're going to key into this. Yeah. All right, let's try this Atitlan. This is a great coffee. Okay, kind of whiny again, right? But it's also soft and whiny, right? So now we have a coffee that's working both sides to it. And as you know, again, I went ahead and prompted in because I'm not going to rely, because you're going to be getting mixed signals, right? We just had a couple of coffees that were very narrow in their king. So if I would have said, what does this one taste like? It would have been a little mean on me. Because some people are like, well, I think it kind of tastes soft, but it's kind of whiny at the same time. Right, exactly. So if you notice that it's just kind of a little bit of both, just go ahead and taste it again. And this is a great coffee to start talking about aroma now. Because now that we've kind of established, you want to jump in there? You had a question.
If someone's not getting it.
Oh, okay. If not getting it.
Do you want to just stay?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, usually, depending on the size of the group, sometimes there's a person that isn't getting it. And what will happen is that you can prompt them along, but don't hold back the whole group. If you've got the majority of the group that's kind of gone, and you can see it, you'll see it, they'll already kind of gone, oh yeah. It's not like, yeah. I mean, you can look at the faces and know when they've got it or not. And there's a facial expression of, I guess so, or, I got it. And they're making those connections. Sometimes you're going to have a person that isn't making those connections. And the best thing to do is to go ahead and keep working the folks that are getting it. By about midway through the whole cupping, it's just going to go bing, and they'll click in. And they're like, oh, and they'll usually say, oh, I got it. Right? But it's just, that happens pretty frequently. Don't worry about everybody getting it. If you got the majority, you've got 3 out of 4 going, just keep moving forward. Okay? All right, so now that I've kind of gotten taste fairly well established, this is going to allow me to start stepping into the area of aroma. Okay? And usually, I like using this Atitlan for that because it's a nice crossover coffee. Because we can taste that wininess to it, but there's also something else kind of going on there. But instead of talking about this coffee, I want to go back to the Yirgacheffe again. Okay? Because this is, as I mentioned, aroma is the hardest one to kind of put together. So what I want to do is we'll pull out our little aroma Les Notes de Café for those folks. Les Notes de Café, an excellent resource for coffee cuppers and trainers. It's got a whole herd, would it be a herd of aromas? Of different aroma essences, and a nice little handy guide to find those through.
So is it because coffee is bold enough in taste that there's no cleansing of palate in between your discernment?
I have never found that the cleansing of a palate is very helpful. That's why I don't do it. And in fact, I want you to kind of be immersed in the world of coffee, because as we get deeper and deeper into it, these coffees are going to start, already we're starting to noticing these coffees that are very distinctly personality-wise. So there really isn't any reason to wash out what's already there. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so what I want you to do at this point is take a real deep smell of that. Go ahead. And then after you've smelled it, taste the Yirgacheffe again. And see if you can't get a similar type of a characteristic, aroma out of it, okay? So just kind of let that plant in your brain and see if you can't find that kind of quality in there. What? No cheating?
I give her credit for a nice slurp.
Good slurp, yeah.